Thank you so much, Dave, and good evening, everybody. Wendy's Friday Night Football taking off. Game 2, TSN, exclusive broadcaster of the CFL, proud home of the Grey Cup. A beautiful day in Vancouver. And we are under the big top tonight. Buck Pierce will start again for the BC Lions. Had a concussion last week. However, he will get the start.
And the question of the week is, how long is Buck Pierce's leash here this week after Jarius Jackson performed so well off the bench? The guy on the other side of the ball, Milton Collins, Calgary Stampeders free safety. After watching BC's two slots, Paris Jackson and G. Simon, have huge nights, Milton Collins is a man who's going to be under the gun trying to keep those two guys in check in the middle of the field.
The rookie kicker, Sean White. And back is Titus Ryan and Marcus Howell. Two teams, Dwayne Ford, that are normally 1 and 2 in the West, in the standings. Now they're 1 and 2 to begin the season. There is a sense of urgency in the air, and I only know it's week 4.
Well, this is the thing. 2 and 2 after tonight looks a whole lot better than 1 and 3.
Here we go. Lions Stampeders, and it's Ryan near the 43-yard line. And Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders, the defending Grey Cup champions, began the season 0-2, but got their first win. Both teams coming off impressive wins last week.
Yeah, and Henry Burris, the key to that win for Calgary, coming up with his best performance of the season. I'll tell you, one of the things that's been overlooked, but I think has been key to Calgary breaking out in week 3, was the first week of the season that they had their regular starting offensive line together. When this group is on, they're good, and it makes a difference for Henry Burris and Joffrey Reynolds.
Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield, play action. Burris to the wide side and almost picked off. Preston George, in his first game as a BC Lion, will play the corner for the injured LeVar Glover. A key for the Calgary Stampeders tonight, no number 82.
No, Nick Lewis out of the lineup. He's a late scratch. We're going to get a look at Jermaine Jackson in that slot back position. Jackson, a big target, fast and physical is the way his quarterback Henry Burris described him to me. So they're excited to see how he makes out here tonight.
Lewis missing the first game because of injury in his career in the Canadian Football League. Back home in Calgary watching. Burris, here's the rush. Avoids it. And Burris will pick up 6 yards short of a first down. But a good rush from that BC front 4.
Good start for the BC defense. You mentioned the pressure, Rod, from that front 4. They've done a nice job as a group. A lot of concerns with the departure of Cameron Wake this offseason. Ricky Foley has stepped into his role, leads the league with 3 sacks after 3 weeks. Of course, you've still got Brett Johnson, Aaron Hunt in that front group as well. And keep an eye on Corey Banks tonight. You'll see number 24 play close to the line of scrimmage and bring a lot of pressure as well.
Number 2, Ian Smart, is back in the Lions lineup. They missed him, but he's tripped up. And Buck Pierce and the BC offense will set up shop at their 15-yard line.
Not great field position for Buck Pierce and this offense to get things rolling. Of course, we mentioned Pierce with that need for a great start here tonight. Looks to get a little bit of help from the lead number 4 rusher, Martel Mallet. We mentioned earlier the 2 slot backs, G. Simon and Paris Jackson, both over 100 yards last week. The offensive line looked a little more solid with the addition of Darren Heersping in that left tackle position last week in Edmonton.
Pierce, play action himself, rolls to the right and open, but dropping the football. Rolly Lambala.
Big fullback, usually a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. Turned his head before he secured the football on that one. The defensive line, you just heard Milt Stiegel in the studio talk about those 2 new defensive ends. Odell Willis and Malik Jackson looked terrific last week coming off the edges against Toronto. Dwayne Carpenter off to a great start, anchoring that linebacking core. We'll watch, as well as safety Milton Collins, the 2 rookie halfbacks tonight, Ronnie Amati and Devonzo Tate, working against the BC slots.
Out of the backfield. And a first down. Rookie back Martel Mallet
Nice job here by Martel Mallet to go through his reads. He's going to check, and when he doesn't see blitz coming, you're going to see him sneak out of the backfield as a receiver. Important for his quarterback to have that outlet as opposed to having him hang around waiting to block somebody who's never coming. Good heads up, good quick decision, quick release by Martel Mallet.
Pierce takes off, and down he goes. It was last week in the first quarter against the Edmonton Eskimos when Buck Pierce took off on a scamper. A guy who normally doesn't hook slide did the hook slide and paid for it on a hit from Elliot Richardson.
Yeah, he did. And as you take a look at this, the big issue for Buck Pierce on this play is, as the league determined it, he slid late after the defender had already committed to the tackle. Pierce suffering a head injury on the play, presumably caused by a bit of the blow to the, not directly to the head, but his head banging off the turf. He says he's fine this week. We'll certainly be watching that if he takes a shot.
Well, he took a shot there from Mike Labinjo. Big part of the Calgary line last year in their Grey Cup season. Of course, played the end last year, is in the tackle position now. Yeah,
you mentioned a big part of that Calgary defense, big and getting bigger, apparently. Part of the reason why Mike Labinjo moves from the end position into the defensive tackle spot. No less effective wherever they seem to line this guy up. He just makes plays.
Sean White places the injured Paul McCallum, gone 6 to 8 weeks, did a great job last week in his debut. The 43.4-yard average. Ryan kicks it outside and will have some running room. Titus Ryan is brought down at the 50-yard line in good field position for Henry Burris and the Stampeders. We're early here in BC Place, second half of the doubleheader. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football, brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. Second possession for the Calgary Stampeders here tonight. Wendy's Friday Night Football. Play action again to the far sideline, and knocked out of bounds is Ryan Thelwell by, again, the rookie corner, Treston George.
Ryan Thelwell has been very good for this Calgary offense so far. One of their more productive receivers. There you saw the two guys they need. Henry Burris and Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield. Receiving core, we mentioned Jackson in for Nick Lewis tonight. The offensive line, anchored by center Rob Lazio. Second game this season together for their starting group. They battled some injuries through the first couple weeks.
Burris, incomplete pass out of bounds. And kind of a look of what was going on there as the Stampeders will boot the ball away.
BC defense limiting the Stampeders to a couple quick 2-and-outs on their first couple series. See the linebacking core, one of the best in the league, including nickelback Corey Banks, who will occasionally drop back to the secondary. And the rookie, Treston George, number 43, in place of an ineffective LeVar Glover at the field corner position this week. Starting lineups brought to you by Nissan, fan and proud sponsor of the CFL. Big kick by Burke Dales into the end zone, and Ian Smart will take a knee, and we have our first point of the ball game. Goes to Calgary. There is the CFL Canadian Player of the Week, who got an award but was a little lighter in the wallet after his little Parisian hot dance routine in the end zone. And the Jacksons, Paris and Jarius Jackson, both award winners. He, of course, won backup of the week. I mean, offensive player of the week. That's right, the closer.
The closer.
Jarius Jackson came out of the bullpen to secure victory for his team.
Helmet on the sideline, always ready to go in case they need a third down play. Over the top. Oh, my goodness. Rolly Lumbala just took a mean hit from Brandon Browner. And he's up. He can still talk about it.
Well, a tough night for Rolly Lumbala so far. Had a drop on the Lions' opening offensive series. And this time takes a big lick as he comes across the field. You're going to see Lumbala come from right to left on your screen, just dragging across the field. As the ball is overthrown,
Whoa.
Brandon Browner darn near decapitates him.
Wow. That's when you try to get up as quick as possible. And he did. 2nd down and 10. Pierce in the pocket. Escapes, flushed out, and will run himself. But is swarmed in only about 3 or 4 yards, and another 2 and out here tonight. So the defense is bringing their A game here.
Last week we saw Paris Jackson catch some deep balls from his quarterback, Jarius Jackson. The two of them seem to have that Jackson telepathy going. Here he thought he was open downfield late on this play, but Buck Pierce was committed to the run, didn't have his eyes in that direction.
White, spiraling kick. Back at the 25-yard line, and there will be a no yards call. Again, Titus Ryan, the returner here tonight.
The result on the play, that'll be a 15-yard no yards penalty.
It looks like Barrett Neely coming into the game. So not sure if that's just a chance for Burris to take a look right now.
15-yard penalty.
I have a feeling this is going to be a package situation with John Cornish in for Joffrey Reynolds at running back as well. I think we're just seeing a particular offensive package being used here. It'll be interesting to see what the play call is.
So Barrett Neely comes in. Burris helmet on the sideline. And Cornish in the game. Back in the lineup. And Neely taking off, and there's a penalty flag on the far side of the field, and so some type of formation in play there, and looks like Henry Burris is still on the sideline. And here he comes. He'll come back in the ballgame.
Yeah, you had a sense by the substitutions made there that this was just going to be for a play or two.
You don't usually see that early in a ballgame, though, like that.
Procedure. Calgary, illegal formation. No end. Repeat. 1st down.
And this is the challenge you get sometimes when you use these specialized personnel packages with guys in positions where they don't often line up. Sometimes people don't realize that they need an end on the line of scrimmage on each side. Someone who's used to playing the slot position, used to being off the line, may forget to line up on the line, and that's what results in the illegal formation call.
1st and 15. Quick hitter. And it's Kenyon Rambo.
Kenyon Rambo just running a quick slant out on the short side of the field. Here you see Kenyon Rambo in his familiar short side wide receiver position. Quick outside release and slants to get inside position on the cornerback Dante Marsh. Easy catch when the cornerback gives him a bit of a cushion.
Just over 8 minutes to go in this opening quarter. 2nd half of our doubleheader tonight. Burris with time. And trying to make a diving catch, unable to come up with it, is Brent Ralph. And once again, Burke Dales will have to kick this ball away.
Well, Calgary showed some signs of life on that possession, but still, overall, unable to penetrate this BC defense to any extent in the early going.
Dales will let this fly from his 35-yard line. Again, Ian Smart, who missed a couple of games with a groin injury. Their key returner. BC happy to have him back. Wobbly kick. Smart fielding it at his 15. And there's a fumble. Calgary says they have the ball, and indeed they do. The Stampeders recover, much to the chagrin of Wally Buono.
A lot of punt return teams leave the long snapper uncovered, unblocked, in hopes that the returner can make the big guy miss. Well, Ian Smart didn't make Randy Chevrier miss. Chevrier, number 56, gets a hand in here to dislodge the football. He creates the turnover. Matt Grudegood, special teams demon, comes up with the recovery to give the Stampeders great field position here.
Close to the red zone. They're going to be throwing here. Burris. And overthrows Brett Ralph. And right now, passing game not in sync for the Calgary Stampeders.
No, it sure isn't. After it looked like they had finally broken out last week, Henry Burris with over 300 yards. His most solid game of the season by far. But definitely not in sync in the early going here tonight, as he's just 2 for 6 through the Stamps' first 3 possessions.
Still no touches for Joffrey Reynolds tonight. They said they wanted to establish a ground game. Obviously not here. Reynolds, rushing leader in the Canadian Football League last year, and flags fly here. Somebody jumped. Might have been the Stampeders.
Procedure. Calgary, number 65, a 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Ben Archibald, the left tackle.
They only get so many opportunities, so many breaks over the course of a football game. You hate to see them slip away. Calgary was blessed to have great field position after the turnover here. Just get the feeling after that first play and followed by a penalty that they might let this one slip away. Those ones come back to haunt you later in games.
Burris calls an audible. 4 receivers to his right, looking end zone, and again another overthrow as Henry Burris was looking for Jermaine Jackson.
And I think Henry Burris got locked in on the right side of the football field to Jermaine Jackson here. His other slot, Jermaine Copeland, lines up as the inside of those 4 receivers. Copeland just runs a thin post, meaning he goes inside his man and down the hash. Watch how open he is. Clear path to the end zone. And Henry Burris could have just laid it up there. Copeland would have walked in for 6.
Sandro DeAngelis. Grey Cup, most outstanding Canadian, has been absolutely perfect this season. 7 for 7. The Stamps have a 4-0 lead. Someday way down the road, Wally Buono will be the CFL's all-time winningest coach. And, you know, even a veteran knows about the Spygate thing.
Here you see the BC Lions this week at their practice facility in Surrey, all wearing their practice jerseys turned inside out so as not to show their numbers. There you see a red cap on the swing in the background. Maybe there was a Stampeder logo on the ladies' cap. The Lions definitely taking some precautions in light of recent CFL events.
Ian Smart trying to find a hole behind blocking. Buck Pierce, the BC Lions. Jarius Jackson was warming up on the sideline. Buck Pierce will scrimmage now with the Lions from their 32-yard line, down 4-0.
Well, it becomes such a challenge for the BC Lions managing their quarterbacks, especially here at home after the way things went last week, with Jarius Jackson leading the team to their first win and doing it in spectacular fashion. You know, Wally Buono may give Buck Pierce a long leash, but you wonder how long a leash the fans here at BC Place are going to give their starting QB.
Play action open on the sideline. There's Paris Jackson. Paris lunging forward, and it looks like it's going to be a first down. Should move the sticks here.
Paris Jackson, the birthday boy.
Yeah, 29 today.
Gets a little early gift from his quarterback, Buck Pierce. See the Stampeder defender, Ronnie Amati, gets caught up playing man coverage. BC uses the traffic of various defenders and receivers near each other to free up Jackson on that play.
Coming off a career-high game last week, 9 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Pierce looks over the middle for Jackson again. And yes, it will be a first down, Paris.
And this will be the matchup to watch. Arguably the best slot back duo in the league in Paris Jackson and Geroy Simon, working against 2 rookie halfbacks. Devonzo Tate, number 45. We saw in the previous play, number 40, Ronnie Amati. Paris Jackson gaining a bit of an edge on the two young bucks on this drive.
No touches yet for Geroy Simon, except now, and look at the running room. There goes Superman. Geroy Simon and down near the 20. That is now 110 straight games with at least one catch for Geroy Simon.
Well, he is Mr. Consistency. This might rank as one of the easiest catches for Geroy Simon in that time. Watch as he catches this football. The Lions' route was set up to clear everything out around Geroy Simon. Mission accomplished as the other receivers ran off the defenders, creating space for number 81.
Nice drive engineered here by Buck Pierce, using everyone, including those outstanding slot backs, Simon and Jackson. Still throwing. Pierce decides to go with it. Buck Pierce to the sideline, close to the end zone, and knocked out of bounds near the 2-yard line. He told us yesterday, he said, I'm not so sure I like that hook slide thing. I might not be using that too often.
Well, Buck Pierce on this play, flushed out of the pocket by the initial pressure from the Calgary defensive line. They get a good push on the left side. You see the safety, Wes Lysak, comes free. But Pierce finds a lane to the right side. And as you mentioned, the hook slide wasn't really sold on it after taking a bit of a shot last week from Elliot Richardson. So Pierce decides he's going to go back to his old tactics and drop the shoulder.
Jarius Jackson in. The option, the flip to Mallet, but a penalty flag on a broken play. Rigged from the line of scrimmage. This is where Jarius Jackson does get some playing time in the ball games that Buck Pierce does start. When it gets close to a goal line or a third down play, Jarius invariably will get the call.
Yeah, Jackson playing those goal line short yardage situations. It looks, by the way, like this call is going to go against the Calgary Stampeders.
Offside, Calgary, defensive line. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Our referee tonight is Kim Murphy. John Huffnagel hates that. Does not like that call. So a week ago, Buck Pierce at this time was on the bench, nursing a head injury. Engineers the drive, capped off by the CFL player of the week. It's a touchdown, but there again are a couple pieces of nylon on the field. And it will be a BC touchdown.
Penalties decline, touchdown.
Did you see what I just saw? The Calgary Stampeders.
I sure did.
DBs scrapping.
Dwight Anderson and Devonzo Tate in a pretty serious shoving match after that play. They were nowhere near the quarterback sneak. I'd love to know what they've got to argue about.
Point after. And a nice drive from Buck Pierce. Thanks to Paris Jackson, a couple of catches. Thanks to Geroy Simon. Buck Pierce, a scramble, and then capped off by the CFL Offensive Player of the Week, Mr. Backup, Jarius Jackson.
Well, maybe more importantly than the 6 points for the BC Lions, the end result. Watch the left side of your screen. There's Anderson on the left, Tate, number 45, right beside him. They're the two guys on this side. Some confusion over where they're supposed to be aligned. The touchdown gets scored, but the argument continues. You see the emotion from the two of them. And it gets a little bit more heated than that.
Man, usually see some of that stuff on the sideline. You don't see that on the field very often.
Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. Peyton Anderson duking it out. They're on the same team.
You thought there was animosity in Toronto between Arlen Bruce and Kerry Joseph.
Eesh. 7-4 BC. So I'm not sure if they're going to kiss and make up or anything like that, but we'll find out. Titus Ryan to the 38-yard line. This ineffective Calgary offense trying to get it on track.
You see Dwight Anderson hopefully cooling off on the sidelines as the offense takes to the field.
You played the game for a long time. You've seen that stuff before. I mean, it's a team game. You can't always love your teammates, and sometimes you get it, you know, heads get a little heated.
Well, it definitely does get heated. It's an emotional, intense game, but you've got to control those emotions. That's a big part of being successful.
Especially going at each other's helmets. Now, Joffrey Reynolds, last year's rushing leader, and off to a very slow start. Really underutilizing that Calgary offense. Just 24 carries for 97 yards before tonight. That's his first touch here tonight.
When you look by comparison, Joffrey Reynolds is a guy who's averaged over 13 yards a carry through his career, averaging just 8 yards a carry so far this season. His yards per carry, his yards per game, both down significantly here in the early going.
2nd and 3, Reynolds again, and meets the wall of black jerseys. Avi Glad in there. Anton McKenzie. I think the entire, I guess you call them front 6.
Yeah. Well, front 6, people look at Corey Banks as a DB, but he'll play close to that line of scrimmage a great deal. I'm sure he likes to think of himself as a little bit more of a speed guy, though.
Lions, of course, employ that 6-2 or 2-6 defense with a nickel back that Corey Banks often comes up and inserted into the linebacker position. It's nice to have a guy like that who can play both linebacker and DB.
Yeah, just the natural football instincts of Corey Banks make him a perfect fit for that spot.
So 3rd down and inches. Just over 2 minutes to go in this opening quarter. Calgary yet to achieve a first down. And Henry Burris will get behind Rob Lazio and try to squirm forward. And he does. There's the first down. It's almost as if the Stampeders just need a couple of receptions here. They seem just a little flat, a little cold here.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it seems like they're getting the offensive line a little bit more into things now, though. A couple of running plays on this drive. But I know the big fellas up front always love that. It allows them to dish out the punishment more than sitting back and taking it, which is kind of the case when you're pass blocking. You have to be a little bit more passive. These guys like to get a little bit of aggression out, and the run game accomplishes that.
Reynolds in the backfield with Burris in the shotgun. Burris going deep. And caught by Kenyon Rambo, the biggest play of the game. Just like that, Cole turns to hot.
Well, it almost seems like you get that O-line going, you get Joffrey Reynolds involved a little bit. Some other things start to open up. And this is it in the deep passing game. You see Henry Burris, great protection from that offensive line. Kenyon Rambo beats Treston George to the outside, lays out, gets the arms underneath the ball to secure the catch for a huge play for the Stampeders.
Rambo top of your screen, near side. Reynolds backfield again. Burris passing again. The crossing route. And hog-collared is Rambo. And it looks like Kenyon Rambo hurt his right knee here. And this does not look good, especially for a team that's already missing Nick Lewis.
Well, this is where these horse collar tackles are so dangerous. Javi Glatt grabs the back of the collar, pulls him down from behind. You see that knee get twisted up underneath Kenyon Rambo.
Not supposed to twist that way, and Javi Glatt, the grab from behind.
Obvious concern on the face of Coach John Huffnagel. Javi Glatt, by no means a dirty player. Sometimes you get out there, it's like the accidental face masks.
Trying to make a tackle.
Exactly, you're just trying to grab something and make a play.
So again, let's take a look at this horse collar tackle.
And this is what we mean by the horse collar, is grabbing the back of the collar of a jersey to pull a player down. You see, it can put a ball carrier in a very dangerous position as far as trying to be able to protect their legs.
13 seconds to go in this opening quarter, and looks like Rambo is going to try to get to his feet here.
I'm sure a part of the frustration for Kenyon Rambo here is he was just starting to get back in sync after missing the start of the season due to injury.
John Huffnagel wants a penalty on the play. Rambo coming off a CFL All-Star season. He was an All-Star for the very first time, such a huge part of their championship season, and you can see the frustration and the pain for the numbers from last year. CFL receiving leader in yardage, 1,473.
Always impressive when a guy who spends most of his time as a wide receiver rather than as a slot back ends up as the league leader in receiving.
Harry Slakowski's on the sideline. We got a report from him on the status of Kenyon Rambo. It does not look good right now. Final play, first quarter, out of the backfield. Plowing to the 4-yard line is John Cornish, a guy who's coming off an injury, back in the Calgary lineup. That's the final play. The Stampeders are driving, but without Kenyon Rambo, and BC leads 7-4 on Wendy's Friday Night Football. BC Lions lead by 3 as we begin the second quarter. Here are our first quarter numbers, brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
And a very even first quarter in terms of statistics, also in terms of the way things were played. Both teams got off to a slow, almost cautious, tentative start, but then they really started to open things up. Each team on their last possession, getting a few looks downfield, starting to attack a little bit more offensively.
I don't know if this is a trend, but I know you and I have noticed a lot of the games in the CFL have started tentatively this season. For whatever reason, a lot of low-scoring first quarters. Is there a reason to that, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it just has to do with the defenses maybe taking a little bit of that edge back this season, as we always see that cyclical effect between offense and defense as far as who has the edge. So there's that feeling out process as far as what are the defenses doing this year that they've changed from the end of last year, and the offense, they're still kind of figuring it out as they see teams for the first time.
First and goal for Calgary. Burris in trouble here, lets it go to the end zone, and over the head of Jermaine Jackson.
Strictly a throwaway there by Henry Burris to try to avoid losing yardage on a sack. But who do you see right in the middle of that mix in the backfield but number 24, the very versatile Corey Banks.
We may see a lot more of Jermaine Jackson in this game now without any Kenyon Rambo and, of course, Nick Lewis out. But Jackson had a pretty good preseason.
Yeah, Jackson had it scored against BC in the preseason, 2 touchdowns, in fact. So he's pretty comfortable playing against this defense, we suspect.
Burris over the middle, touchdown! Jermaine Copeland.
Well, with a lot of new faces around him, Henry Burris goes to Old Faithful, Jermaine Copeland for the major.
First catch tonight for Jermaine Copeland.
Here you see Copeland, inside receiver to the right side of the formation. Good pickup on the defensive end by Joffrey Reynolds, providing protection. Copeland goes inside, angles to the inside, a post route. Beats Darren Toney for the touchdown.
Haven't seen many touchdown celebrations yet tonight. Lions have been aplenty in the league. Copeland used to love that stuff. Just loves getting in the house now. Stampeders surge ahead, 11-7. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. Little tug of war going on here. Early second quarter, Jermaine Copeland with its 3rd touchdown of the season. Calgary Stampeders on that drive losing Kenyon Rambo. We're not sure for how long, if it's the game, maybe an extended period of time. We'll have to see. Ian Smart behind blocking, still on his feet. The 35-yard line is where Buck Pierce and the Lions will scrimmage. Let's go down to Perry Solkowski. Perry?
Rod, thank you. Kenyon Rambo with ice on his knee. They won't give specifics, but it's very doubtful that he will be back. And the way he's reacting, first he's upset that there was no penalty, but the player's coming over and saying it's okay. I think he might be gone for a little while. Another thing to worry about, well, Rambo has ice on his knee, is the cooling down process of Dwight Anderson. He has had several players come up to him since that altercation with Tate. Phone call down from the press box. He hasn't really been hanging out with his teammates, so we'll see what effect that has on him after a little scuffle on the field.
All right, thank you, Perry. We saw Kenyon Rambo leave on the cart. Not a good sign at all. Martel Mallet with a hole. Huge one. Penalty flag on the far side of the field. And he takes a hit from Brandon Browner. Slow to get up, but let's see if this one might come back. No, it goes against Calgary. The Stampeder team.
Offside, Calgary, number 96. That penalty is declined. First down.
Cut down on penalties last year considerably, but they have racked up a lot more penalties again this year. Back to their old bad habits.
They sure have. That discipline is a problem. How about this hole that opens up for Martel Mallet? Just a huge lane. The saying goes, he could have driven a bus through that one. Much of a hit by Brandon Browner. We've seen a couple of big ones from him here tonight. Pierce.
And it's picked off. Threw it right into the hands of Brandon Browner. Looked like a bit of a shovel pass, but Pierce threw it to the wrong jersey. It is a first down. It's going to be Calgary ball here. Look at this.
This is a gift for Brandon Browner.
Oh, went off a helmet, it looked like.
Off a helmet, off the hands of O'Neill Wilson, into the hands of Brandon Browner, who's almost stunned to have this thing end up, well, in his lap.
I think it got a piece of Shannon James here. Right there.
James touches it, then O'Neill Wilson touches it.
And then Browner has it. Wow, juggling act.
Yeah, nice reaction by big number 27. Also had a pick last week against the Argos.
Joffrey Reynolds meets head-on with Corey Banks.
Corey Banks, never one to walk away silently from a collision. Corey Banks was apologizing to me after the last game here in Vancouver, after he was looking for a Gladiator Award. The pre-game talk, said, sorry I couldn't get it done for you. But he's trying again here tonight.
Another first down for Calgary. Yes, it is Gladiator night, Wendy's Friday Night Football. And one of these guys in the field tonight will go home with a brand new Movado watch. I think the watch, you know, is awesome to get the watch. They'd love to collect those watches. But, you know, it's the title as well of being that Gladiator. There's a lot to it.
Well, that's the biggest part of it. It's, you know, it's always nice to know what time it is, but, you know, they got clocks for that.
Well,
it's
Arland Bruce could have used one of those. Burris scampers for 4 yards.
Burris on that play looked like he had an option to either throw the hitch or run the draw. The offensive line blocking their draw scheme, and Burris can go either way with it. Elected to run the draw for a pickup of about 3. There you see offensive coordinator George Cortez. Little coincidence that Cortez's return to Calgary has coincided with the real emergence of Henry Burris as an elite quarterback in this league.
Screen pass to Reynolds, who couldn't haul it in. So it will be third down.
Well, the play didn't work out at that time, but I love the Calgary Stampeders making a commitment on their last couple of possessions to getting Joffrey Reynolds involved in the game. And we saw how, as Reynolds got involved, it seemed to wake up the entire offense, but also opened up some things downfield. With the underneath passes, the running game, the defense is forced to creep up a little closer to the line of scrimmage to defend against that run. The receivers love that because of the opportunity it creates.
Burkdale's trying to find that coffin corner. Looks like a good kick. And they're going to mark it at around the 10-yard line. We'll come back to BC Place right after this. CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. And what has been a gorgeous couple of days in the Olympic City. And we're in the stadium that will be home to the opening and closing ceremonies. A few months away, really. Next February for the Winter Olympics. A lot of construction going on along here. Out of the backfield. Lions have their ears pinned back here. Mallett just gets 2 yards on that carry. Averages 4.6 yards a carry.
Mallett off to a good start, as we mentioned. Came into week 4 as the CFL's number 4 rusher.
Passing down here for Buck Pierce. And he's dropped at the goal line. Hernan Kashama has the sack.
Love seeing number 34 for the Stampeders do good things. Hernan Kashama, the rookie, lining up at that right defensive end spot. Part of the defensive end rotation. Essentially just runs around the left tackle. Darren Heerspink just dips his shoulder and rips through a clear path to quarterback Buck Pierce.
Part of the brothers Kashama, a lot of them that play football. And the new rules, you know, we've seen a lot of the kickers actually punted out of the end zone at times. This is not going to happen this time. Sean White, or he is. He's going to kick it. Wow. Don't see that happen very often.
Sure don't.
And look at this, Titus Ryan. Ryan tiptoes, and that's maybe why not. Perhaps there might have been a good case to take the 2 points.
You knew it was a gamble. BC lost on that one.
So Wally Buono, again, we talk about it, the team's wanting to take 2 points. Not that time, might give up 7 here. CFL on TSN continues tomorrow as the Edmonton Eskimos travel to Regina to take on the Rough Riders. Live coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time from Mosaic Stadium. Very surprised at that move.
Well, especially given that it's not like they were on their 10-yard line and snapping it 4 yards deep in their end zone. They were snapping that ball 14 yards deep into the end zone, having to kick from back there with a Calgary offense that's starting to perk up.
Out of the backfield again, Jermaine Jackson dances down near the 5-yard line.
See Jermaine Jackson, they're certainly not afraid to use his talents here in this Calgary offense. His first game of the season, but a nice effort here by the right defensive end, offensive right defensive end Gary Butler to stay alive on the play. First plays the bootleg from the quarterback Burris, but stays in pursuit, tracking the receiver Jermaine Jackson all the way out to the sideline.
27-year-old, a rookie Jermaine Jackson out of Saginaw Valley State. Henry Burris really likes Jermaine Jackson. He says he's kind of a combination between Alan Pitts and Travis Moore. That's some high praise.
Well, it sure is, and Henry Burris, of course, would have played with both those guys early in his career in Calgary. But he said he kind of has the runs routes and has the smoothness, the fluidity of an Alan Pitts, but also the toughness and the physicality of Travis Moore. It's a pretty nice combination for a receiver.
Well, it's a good combination. It's good to have him around right now, considering, again, no Nick Lewis back in Calgary, did not travel with the team, and now no Kenyon Rambo, which is a huge blow to the Calgary Stampeders.
And Titus Ryan, who's dressed as an extra receiver and kick returner here tonight, is going to see a lot more reps offensively for the Stampeders with that injury to Rambo.
First and goal. Burris. Teardrop pass, looking in the end zone for Jermaine Copeland again. Good coverage from Ryan Phillips.
Well, this is the first time that we've seen a zone read type look from Calgary. And remember, that zone read is a play where Henry Burris has the option of handing it off to his running back, Joffrey Reynolds, or pulling it. Here you're going to see it's not the true look where Burris bootlegs out to a side after. Here he's just straight draw. He may have wanted to bootleg, but this is how BC is going to defend that. Again, It's Corey Beggs using his speed near the line of scrimmage to pressure Burris into making a quick throw.
Burris fires a strike, and it's a touchdown. Jermaine Jackson.
Jermaine Jackson loves playing these BC Lions. 2 preseason touchdowns against the Leos. Adds one that really counts here tonight. How costly was that decision to punt out of the end zone instead of taking the safety?
His first CFL regular season touchdown, a memorable one. A couple of good plays on this drive. Calgary Stampeders now with a point after will open up an 11-point advantage. Getting close to midway in the second quarter. This is Wendy's Friday Night Football on TSN. Welcome back to the Jermaine Show. Copeland and now Jackson.
Jermaine Jackson fitting right in the place of Nick Lewis. Usually one of Henry Burris's favorite targets. So we've seen this trend this season. Guys given the opportunity due to injury, stepping in, coming up with big games, making some tough decisions for their coaches.
Oh, a tough decision from Wally Buono to boot that out of the end zone. And because of that, good field position. Titus Ryan really set it up as well on, I still would think, a little questionable.
Well, again, it has to do with just how deep the ball is when you're punting. The Lions were punting this from 14 or 15 yards deep in the end zone, and then to give up that big return. Calgary's offense had momentum. They kept it going with the touchdown pass from Burris to Jermaine Jackson, his first in the CFL.
Again, the new rules make it a little prohibitive to give up the 2 points now, but boy, Buck Pierce going for a kill shot here downfield. And unable to catch up with it is the speedy Rufus Skiller, and I'm not sure if Usain Bolt would have caught that ball.
Might have gotten there, but I don't think he'd have caught it.
No.
Rufus Skillern is the top receiver. Wide man on the left side, just takes an inside release, gets man coverage on Dwight Anderson. Overthrown ball, but also nice help on the play by the free safety, Wes Lysak.
Second down and 10. Pierce in trouble, grounds it, and it didn't get to the line of scrimmage. It looked like he threw it right to the ground.
The Bluebirds are out here in BC.
Martel Mallet was close to him there. Oh yeah, the Bluebirds are out.
You see the pressure here from the defensive end. Odell Willis just dips the shoulder again. Speed rush. Dips underneath Hirspink. Eventually essentially create that clear path to the quarterback. Darren Hirspink's got to sit down, get his butt down low, and move his feet. Get outside position.
Titus Ryan slipping on the cutback on a good boot from Sean White. Once again, Calgary has been given the ball back a few times and given glorious opportunities because of turnovers and, of course, that punt from the end zone.
Stampeders have started to capitalize on their last couple. BC is going to need their defense to step up and get a big stop here and try and stop the bleeding a little bit before this one gets out of reach.
Reynolds behind blocking. Joffrey Reynolds has a first down. Dante Marsh finally supplying the finishing touch after Joffrey Reynolds had accumulated 18 yards of real estate.
And aside from the obvious positive effect for the Calgary Stampeders of getting Joffrey Reynolds going here in the ground game, there's going to be a long-term benefit if he's able to continue this. Nice down block there, a block to the inside from the right tackle, or left tackle, excuse me, Ben Archibald. But Calgary hasn't used that zone read that was their bread and butter last year a lot.
Hauled in. Jermaine Jackson has suddenly become a big part a focal point of this Calgary Stampeder offense.
Well, the important thing about this for Jermaine Jackson is that by playing well, getting this production, he allows the Calgary Stampeders to just run their regular offense. And this is what you need when you have a backup stepping in because of injury. You don't want to have to avoid calling plays that you would usually call for Nick Lewis because Nick Lewis isn't there. We obviously know number 82 is a big part of the Calgary Stampeders offense. By Jermaine Jackson being able to step in here and produce, Calgary can just call the plays they usually call, and it keeps everyone else in their comfort zone.
John Cornish back home. Comes from New Westminster, BC.
Yeah, Cornish, a big high school star here in BC. Always loves the opportunity to come back here and play.
Hurt his knee in the preseason. Had to go through a lot of rehab. Said it was a lot to do with his vitamins. His omega-3s, he said. And a lot of hard work to get back in the lineup. Inside 5 minutes. 2nd and 7 for Calgary. Driving again. Burris to the far side and open for a first down. Brett Ralph. That's the Brett Ralph play, isn't it?
Well, number 11.
Designed for him.
The silent assassin. Everybody forgets about him out there on the wide side. Everybody forgets except Henry Burris. Here you see Brett Ralph all by his lonesome out to the wide side. 2 more receivers inside of him. They get covered, but look at all the room the Lions give Brett Ralph. A lot of times teams think that, for example, with the ball on the left hash, that the quarterback's not going to throw the ball all the way out to the right sideline. Well, Henry Burris will, and Brett Ralph is thankful.
Goes to the red zone. Joffrey Reynolds. Not only did Calgary Stampeders have the leading rusher last year in Joffrey Reynolds, but as we said earlier, the leading receiver, Kenyon Rambo. You add that to having Henry Burris and everything else, guess what? At the end of the year, you might be hoisting a nice silver trophy.
Well, no doubt about it, especially when you add in some of the other elements of that offense, and, well, a pretty impressive defense, too. But certainly, that ability to be balanced offensively. So many good receivers, and spreading it around to all of them is a big key in that.
2nd and 5 and a bouncer. Jermaine Copeland unable to come up with it.
Henry Burris facing pressure from number 97, Brent Johnson, on the play. Had to rush that bullet out of the barrel. Again, Calgary showing some good things in that run game, and I started to mention earlier why long-term it's important for Calgary to do some things on the ground. Well, they're not running that zone read that was their bread and butter. They're not running it as much so far this year because obviously defenses have tried to clamp down on it. If they want to open up that play that they had so much success with in 2008, they need to be successful with their other running plays. And that's happening here tonight for the Stampeders.
Sandro DeAngelis, automatic, still perfect this season. 21-7. Wally Buono still with Buck Pierce. Has him on a short leash, though, I'm sure. Jarius Jackson ready to go. And Wally Buono always been a guy who's believed in having a 2-quarterback or even sometimes 3-quarterback system. This is what he says is important as a starter.
The starter has a certain responsibility to the football club. He has a certain responsibility to the team and to the position, and there's a certain level of expectation. And you know, obviously, when the guy behind you plays as well as he does, yeah, that puts pressure on you. But you know, that's part of the game. If the quarterback can't handle that pressure, he eventually will crumble.
Well, that's it. You're the primetime guy when you're the starting quarterback. You get probably more than your share of the credit when things go well, more than your share of the blame when things go wrong. You're expected to shoulder a lot. Buck Pierce recognizes that. Wally Buono has made that abundantly clear. Internal competition, a part of the game. That's a good kind of pressure, quite frankly.
Wally Buono has had a lot of great quarterbacks and has always believed in having a very strong backup. Look at the lineage. Ian Smart trying to find the seam. Wrestled down at the 40-yard line. You played in Calgary. You know how Wally Buono thinks. We'll talk more about that when we come back in the quarterback shuffle. Will it continue? 3-minute warning on the field. 21-7 Stamps. 3 minutes till halftime. Rona at the half on its way. Chris Schultz, Jock Climbing, Dave Randorf, and Milt Stiegel. Wonder how long Milt is going to be hearing questions about maybe trying to make a comeback in Winnipeg. I think he's really officially retired. We signed him, but Blue Bombers struggling again tonight, losing to the Toronto Argonauts in the first game of our doubleheader. Second game so far has been all Calgary, 21-7. Pierce still at the helm, and you wonder if it continues this way.
Pierce for the handoff to number 35.
Well, they put 7 points on the board. Really has had, limited offensive production here in this first half. If we will see number 7 in the second.
Well, anybody who saw the game in Edmonton last week saw the immediate spark, the energy that seemed to just be injected into that BC Lions offensive huddle when Jarius Jackson came in last week. You wonder if it becomes a regular thing, if the effect will be the same, but at some point you may have to look that way if the Lions continue to struggle.
Mallet rumbling into Calgary territory. That's a good way to mix it up with a back coming out of the backfield. Martel Mallet can do that.
They sure can, and the nice thing about the 2 play calls on this series thus far is that the Lions are showing some patience. It's still early in this football game, and a lot of times a team gets behind by a couple touchdowns and thinks they have to throw bombs all the time and try and get it all back at once. You can't. The underneath stuff is there, and they used it.
Pierce. And open was Skillern, but Pierce was rocked as he tossed that football.
Well, and again, though, just staying with that thought, Buck Pierce took a hit. If he gets the protection on that play, the time to deliver a better throw, he's got his receiver open, Rufus Skillern underneath. You're going to see that Calgary defensive line. Watch Odell Willis. The top of your screen working against Hirschbing. Malik Jackson is in there, but Willis gets his hands on Pierce just as he throws that football. Rush throw causes that inaccuracy. They miss an opportunity. Skillern was open.
Pierce down the sidelines, but another overthrow. Emmanuel Arsenault cannot catch up with it, and you can hear the boos. And these BC Lion fans not entirely happy right now with the lack of productivity of this offense.
Oh, and you knew that the fans would get impatient quickly here tonight if the Lions offense didn't get going again because of the perception at the quarterback position. Jarius Jackson, and his only real action this season, ends up being the offensive player of the week. So automatically, if the O doesn't get going, they want number 7 under center.
Titus Ryan out of bounds. Good kick from the local kid, Sean White from White Rock.
We've seen that's something Sean White does particularly well. Just angling those punts, trying to pin returners between the numbers and the sidelines and narrowing the coverage area.
Just looks like a kid, doesn't he? He's only 23, but sometimes we saw him a few games ago when we were here and saw this young guy out there. We kind of thought maybe he was one of the ball boys. But an engaging young man, lives in his parents' basement right now, at his parents' home, and makes ice at the local curling rink. Is a curler. Gotta like a curler. He might even make a gladiator. Well, don't say that. Joffrey Reynolds drives it near the 25-yard line. 1:38 to go before halftime.
We can't hammer home the point enough. This Calgary offense is at its best when Joffrey Reynolds is producing. Joffrey Reynolds has been outstanding along with the guys doing the blocking for him here tonight.
Already again came into the game, 97 yards through 3 games. So things going right for the Calgary Stampeders in this first half.
Tackled by number 90, Aaron Hunt. Game about 3. Second down. Stampeders.
Consider that Henry Burris did not have a good start to this ball game, too.
No, things started slowly. Looked like it was going to be a low-scoring defensive struggle. But Henry Burris seems to have found his stride. There's a couple of the new receivers who are in the lineup tonight. Jermaine Jackson in his first regular season game in place of Nick Lewis. And Titus Ryan seeing more reps in place of the injured Kenyon Rambo. So those guys seem to have settled in pretty quickly. And Henry Burris seems pretty comfortable with them as well.
This is a team that also offensively not entirely conservative. We've seen them air it out even with the lead before halftime. They've had success with Reynolds on the ground. Let's see what they do here. 2nd down and 6. And a comfortable lead going into the locker room. Burris scrambling out of the pocket. Hook slide and a beauty. And a 1st down.
First down, Stampeders. Ball at their 40-yard line.
Well, Henry Burris manages to escape here, but not without a little bit of help from his center, Rob Lazio, right in the middle of your offensive line. Keep an eye on Lazio as the scramble starts here. He's working on Aaron Hunt, but watch the right hand. The left hand, excuse me, on the back of Hunt's jersey, preventing number 90 from getting away in pursuit.
Burris again.
Move.
Down the sideline. Juggling act there again. Brian Thelwell, the former Lion, can't come up with it. But for tonight's games, Henry Burris is the Stampeders' leading rusher.
Yeah, a position he's unaccustomed to being in. Definitely a quarterback who will run the ball a lot, and it's not often near the top of the league's rushing stats. But on a team with Joffrey Reynolds, who topped the league in that department last season, you certainly don't expect after 3 weeks to see Henry Burris #1 on his own squad.
Do you find the numbers, however, early in the season, because it's not a big body of work, a little skewed sometimes statistically?
Well, they certainly can be, depending on situations teams may find themselves in terms of the score, in terms of teams that they've played and so on. So you know those things will even out. We're starting to see it definitely even out in those Stamps rushing stats so far here tonight.
Draw play. Reynolds runs into traffic. 43 seconds left in the half.
Joffrey Reynolds gets a break. Part of that commitment to the run game for the Stampeders, getting John Cornish more involved. Cornish led all CFL running backs in yards per carry last season among backs with more than 10 carries. Calgary definitely wants to see this young Canadian get a little bit more opportunity in their offense.
Second short yardage. 17 seconds to go, and that was
42 in time.
Cornish for 13, but it'll be 3rd down.
And Calgary's going with their big package, some big bodies in the lineup. They're just going to run out the first half here rather than punt it away and risk a return.
They can bring the clock right down to 0 here. Boy, huge difference in time of possession in this second quarter.
Well, and we've seen it even on this possession as Calgary did a nice job managing the clock. But over 10 minutes of possession for the Calgary Stampeders in quarter number 2.
Who owned the first half 21-7. Rona at the half coming up next in Wendy's Friday Night Football. Stamps lead 21-7. Will the Bucks stop here? Let's find out. Perry Sikowski now with Wally Buono.
Coach, they had the better of the line of scrimmage. Will we see a quarterback change, or would it make a difference right now?
Well, we are going to make a quarterback change, and part of that is, we're just not getting what we want out of it. And we got to do a much better job offensively.
What about the running game that Calgary supplied in the first half?
Well, again, you know, we got to tackle the guy at the point of attack, and right now, you know, that's why they're ahead of us.
Good luck.
Jarius Jackson will start this second half. He's used to this stuff coming off the bench. Had success last week. Played pretty much the whole game once. Again, Buck Pierce was injured in the first quarter, but Jarius Jackson has been a super sub. 21-7 the score, and he do it for the Lions again.
Well, and I'm just waiting to hear the reaction from these BC fans when Jarius Jackson trots out with the offense for their first possession of the second half.
You will not have to wait long, my friend. Sandro DeAngelis, the boot. Ian Smart behind a wall. Smart penalty flag at the 42-yard line. And driven backwards. But it looks like they had his progression to the 32-yard line. Again, a penalty flag, and here comes Jarius.
Well, the fans slowly starting to notice Jarius Jackson making his way to the huddle as the cheers pick up. There you see the comparison between the two of them as versus being starters or coming off the bench. Jackson, pretty successful at both. You could actually make the argument that Buck Pierce is the one who's actually been better coming off the bench. So there's maybe a little bit of a myth as far as what their roles are here, or what their roles should be.
Holding penalty call. Complementary quarterbacks, though, and that's what Wally Bono, his MO has been through the years. He'd have a scrambler, a guy who can throw it deep, or a guy who's more of a play manager like Buck Pierce. Handoff right away.
That's all.
We chatted with Wally yesterday, and he reminded us that, you know, when he played back in the 70s, there were quarterbacks on almost every team in the league. There were, you know, a good starter, a great starter, and a very capable backup, and that's kind of where he got that in his head, even from hockey.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, you know, most specifically, Wally talked about his days as a player with the Montreal Alouettes in the 70s and talked about the combination of Sonny Wade with Joe Barnes, and it just always seemed like the Alouettes of that era had two quarterbacks that had different skill sets.
The hockey reference meaning to the Black Aces that he referred to, the Montreal Canadiens and the Black Aces, and all of those who were, again, easily put in and substituted from time to time, and they never missed a beat.
Yeah, exactly. He said it wasn't so much about the talent that they had on the roster at any given time or in the starting lineup, but as much as anything about the next wave of guys that were coming up to fill as those established players moved on.
Well, he kicked it last time in the end zone. Why not from the 5-yard line? Boy, he's got a good leg. No yards call. Titus Ryan. Another 15 yards tacked onto that if that is a no yards penalty.
Run out of bounds by number 70, Dan McCullough.
So again, excellent field position, it seems. And will it be no yards?
No yards. BC, number 45. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So great start again, and that's the thing for the Stamps tonight. They've had great starts for so many possessions.
Well, the field position sure makes things easier. You see, Jason Araki technically on this play is more than 5 yards away from the kick returner, Titus Ryan. The problem for Araki, he didn't break down, and so with him moving at full speed, it was a tough judgment call for the officials. But they missed that one.
Burris. Dante Marsh with excellent coverage on Titus Ryan.
Well, that one made it to Titus Ryan. Dante Marsh was right with him, but it looked like that actually hit Titus Ryan's shoulder pads right on the front of his pads.
You're right. Absolutely right. Titus Ryan, a speedster, kick returner, and might have been able to haul that in.
And some people make the argument that Dante Marsh didn't turn around to look at the ball on the play, that maybe there could have been a pass interference call. But I don't think there was much contact there in any case.
Bird scrambling. Penalty flag flies in the backfield. Likely a holding call here.
Henry Burris run out of bounds by number 90, Aaron Hunt.
Good pressure from that BC defensive line. Nice pursuit to force Burris out of bounds as well.
Holding. Calgary, number 67. A penalty is declined. Third down.
Second-year man, Dimitri Zumpas, the guard, gets flagged on the play.
Herb Dales will come out. Ian Smart at his 10-yard line. Dales will try to angle one. Mike's kicking a BC place, obviously, tonight. Good leg into a couple of punts here. Another one. Sends Smart into the end zone. And he'll come out. Maybe should have thought about taking the knee. 21-7 Calgary. We'll be back in a moment.
As kick returner Ian Smart made his way off the field, Wally Buono's wondering the same thing I am. You can read Wally's lips saying, why did you do that? Wondering why when Smart caught the ball in the end zone, he didn't just give up the single point and let them start this offensive drive at their 35 instead of being pinned at their own 10-yard line.
They have not had good field position and a fumble. And Calgary has the football again. Odell Willis on the botched snap. The Big O has the ball. The third turnover for the Lions tonight.
Do you think Odell Willis knows about those watches?
Yeah, I tell you.
He's turning in a monster game here tonight. You're going to see Willis coming from his right defensive end spot. Again, untouched on the play, but really just a case where the ball's on the ground and he's in the right place at the right time.
BC Lions not helping themselves here at all. Some costly decisions, costly mistakes. The Stamps looking to put the hammer down. Burris. In and out of the hands. Missile to Jermaine Copeland. Aaron Toney in on the coverage.
Well defended on that play by Brent Johnson. You know, we have a bit of a sense that maybe Odell Willis wanted to be ready tonight in case he got his hands on the ball.
Oh, there you are.
You don't often see the defensive lineman in the end zone being the guy helping out the kickers catching balls, but
not behemoths.
You know, maybe 260-pound Willis knew he was going to get one tonight.
Burris fires a strike, and it's a touchdown. Jermaine Copeland. And the hammer being put down here by the Stampeders.
Third touchdown by the Jermaines here tonight. I think when the BC Lions look back at that play, they're going to say we gave them that one just a little bit too easily. But again, the decision-making on special teams proves costly for the BC Lions. They end up pinned deep in their own end because of the decision not to give up the single point. Turnover from that field position gives the Stampeders an easy major.
Earlier, the decision not to give up two. That one, not to give up one. Huge swing. 28-7 the score. Smiling. Hank is dancing tonight. 2 tonight, 4 on the season. Jermaine Copeland. Again, the Calgary Stampeders reeling without Nick Lewis. Kenyon Rambo, injured receivers, but not needed tonight in many ways. In the Copeland and Jackson show, and Henry Burris, after a sputtering start, has come alive. Now the BC Lions need to respond in a hurry. Ian Smart trying to make amends, only gets it to the 34-yard line, but really some questionable decisions so far have led to this deficit.
Yeah, absolutely, and questionable decisions in special team situations. It all has to do with field position. We saw the Lions in the first half elect to punt from 14 yards deep in their own end zone. Calgary's receiving the ball in their own territory. You see it reflected in the average start of their drives here in this game. BC starting drives around midfield, or excuse me, Calgary starting drives around midfield with 56 yards to go. Calgary starting at their own 24 with 86 yards to go.
Martel Mallet, running room and a first down. And a penalty flag in the backfield. Holding BC. When Jarius Jackson came into the game, he went quick strike right away, downfield. Now again, because of the field position, hasn't been able to air it out.
Holding. BC, number 64. A 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
And for as much as Jarius Jackson has a bit of a propensity to throw the ball down the field, the opportunity has to be there as well in terms of his reads. And that just has not been created so far.
The Lions with a restless crowd here. Very quiet BC place. Wes Lysak, free safety, saw him. Jarius Jackson is swarmed and brought down. And guess who in there once again? Odell Willis enjoying the lights under the big top.
Odell Willis is putting on a show here tonight, dominating the line of scrimmage. This time lines up working against right tackle Jason Jimenez. Again, just dips the shoulder, beats him with a speed rush to the outside before Jarius Jackson has a chance to even progress through his reads.
Second and long, and Jarius Jackson can only do one thing, and it's run. And they're going to have to boot the football away again. Struggling night for the BC Lions offense, and the defense of the Calgary Stampeders coming to play. Odell Willis having a Cam Wake-like start to the beginning of a season.
Odell Willis has just been unbelievable these last couple weeks. Imagine how good this guy's going to be when he actually figures out the CFL.
Exactly. I think it's all that extra practice shagging field goals. Beginning of a game. What a night for Odell Willis. Titus Ryan back again. Sean White angling it, but Ryan will give the Stampeders good field position once again. Another start into Lion territory. All going wrong for the BC Lions right now. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. Odell Willis been around. Small West Georgia school. West Georgia University. Played in the Arena Football League with the Peoria Pirates and the Green Bay Blizzard. Hails from Meridian, Mississippi. Making a name for himself. Reynolds. 4-yard pickup. Corey Banks in on the tackle.
Well, Odell Willis is just another example of the tremendous job that Calgary's player personnel director Jim Barker does of finding these gems, finding guys who are playing in small schools or playing in obscure leagues. Odell Willis playing arena football out of West Georgia State. You've got a guy like Jermaine Jackson from Division II Saginaw Valley. Titus Ryan from a Division II school as well. Milton Collins, a junior college player, and all of them having an impact for this Stampeder team.
Burris goes to the end zone. Oh, what a catch! No! They're saying no! Copeland looked like he caught it.
When he makes a play that nice on the ball, just give it to him.
Wow. Jermaine Copeland says he caught it. If he did catch this, this is a miraculous catch. Did he drop it here?
The ball from that first shot was on the outside of his body. We'll get a little bit better look at it here. Goes up, has it in his hands.
Wow. Well, did it right there underneath? Did it? Man, it looked like.
Sure looked to me like he had that football.
There's a challenge flag on the play. Or is there? Yeah, there is a challenge flag on the play. John Huffnagel threw it. Kim Murphy will listen to the command center.
Challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
Just for pure effort. Artistic impression.
Well, first there's the body control to get turned around to the ball. Gets it at its highest point while falling backwards. Darren Toney got a hand in there, but it looked to me like Jermaine Copeland maintained possession of this football the entire way.
Right there. Is it in his...
See, that ball, it doesn't look like the ball is touching the ground. It looks like there's a little bit of space underneath the football there.
Watch right here. Did he drop it? Here it comes here.
He's holding that ball up.
He's got that ball. What a catch.
I'll be very surprised if this one isn't ruled a touchdown.
Darren Toney did almost everything possible in coverage. Again, Kim Murphy will listen to what Jake Ireland, Tom Higgins have to say back at the command center, watching on a variety of monitors and screens in high definition. I tell you, that looks like a catch. That looks like a touchdown.
Tonight's winning 50-50 number is 210-174. That's 210-174. Give them 10 minutes to check in guest services at section 34 on level 2.
Jermaine Copeland telling the rest of the Stampeders, I had that one. That's a touchdown.
If it was, that's the hat trick for Copeland tonight. They're still looking at it back in Toronto.
Well, either way, the Stampeders kicking team is on the field. They'll either be kicking an extra point or kicking a field goal, and we'll find out which here.
After review, we're going with the call on the field. As called, it is third down.
Boy, well, they're seeing something we're not. And perhaps a different angle or something, or Jermaine Copeland felt he had that.
I can't argue with him.
Looks good from here, but maybe a break here for the BC Lions.
Y'all hate me. Y'all don't want me to beat me.
So Sandro DeAngelis comes out to put this one through the uprights. An attempt now from 47-yard line. Kick is up, and the perfect start to a season continues for DeAngelis. And the lead is extended 31-7. Friday Night Gladiators brought to you by Movado. The Movado Series 800 is all about the art of performance, where serious sports function meets powerful design. And our Gladiator tonight will get one of those beauties. Jermaine Copeland, Gladiator-like reception, but for naught. And Odell Willis, he wants to watch. Bit of a pooch kick that time from Sandro DeAngelis, and because of that, the BC Lions finally get some decent field position here.
Well, a little bit of breathing room. Now the question is, can anything with it? My feeling for BC coming into this second half was be patient. They didn't have to force the ball down the field. They could run the ball with Mallet, and some underneath things would be open for them. They could take advantage of that. I'll tell you, as they give up more points and watch more time tick off that clock, that becomes less and less of an option offensively.
Lions' deepest start of the game. Jackson over the top and almost picked off.
But again, the underneath receiver was there. Geroy Simon was open. The ball is just overthrown by Jarius Jackson on this play.
Take a look on the screen. See this week.
There you see Geroy Simon just running a drag route across the middle. Plenty of room to run. Jarius Jackson sees him, just overthrows him.
Two dynamic receivers on that field for BC, and Geroy Simon only one catch tonight. Paris Jackson only 2 catches. All came in the first quarter.
Both over 100 yards last week.
Have to find them now. Jarius into traffic again, and Dwight Anderson says he has the ball, and the referee concurs. It's an interception. Anderson took it to the end zone, but the whistle had gone. Last week, touchdown return on an interception. So Dwight Anderson with the interception here. And could it get any worse for the BC Lions?
Again, you just have that sense that this is the BC Lions pressing, trying to force the ball into places where it shouldn't go.
No catch. Ryan Thelwell thought he hauled it in. The way it's going, Wally Wano's going to run out of quarterbacks over there. Travis Lulay is their actual second stringer, listed semantically because he could kick if need be. But it has not been the kind of night that the BC Lions enjoyed last week.
No, it sure hasn't last week. Pierce was playing well. Things got stepped up another level when Jackson came in. Here tonight, there just hasn't been any answer whatsoever offensively.
Burris in the rush, wide open over the middle. Jermaine Jackson with another reception. You also get a sense that the Calgary Stampeders, after a slow start to the season, 0-2, the defending Grey Cup champions, are starting to roll now.
Well, they certainly are, and they've got all these young guys on defense. Surprising number of changes made to that defense since last season. Now you've got some of those guys finding their stride, led by Odell Willis. And offensively, where the Stamps struggled a bit in weeks 1 and 2, tell you what, they're back.
Joffrey Reynolds on his feet still. Lunging forward, and it's going to be another first down. Everything going right for the White Horse.
On the big matchup here between Joffrey Reynolds and the Lions middle linebacker, Javi Glatt. The two of them scheduled to meet in the hole. Watch what Joffrey Reynolds does to make Glatt miss. Forces him to over-pursue, cuts it back. Picks up about 5 extra yards with that move.
Copeland again. You have the feeling that Henry Burris, maybe going back to Copeland, because I think all the Calgary Stampeders felt that Copeland did make that catch in the end zone.
Well, the only thing that's stopped Jermaine Copeland here tonight is the call by the officials. The BC Lions certainly haven't done it. With that in mind, Henry Burris will keep going to him.
Playing his 90th straight game tonight in the CFL, Jermaine Copeland. 2 touchdowns tonight. Cornish again, getting lots of playing time. So it will be second down. Hard to believe that John Huffnagel's team came out of the gate very slowly here tonight. The BC Lions had a 7-4 lead after the first quarter, right in the ball game, and the roof caved in.
Well, the turning point to me, when it was 7-4, we were talking about how Joffrey Reynolds hadn't touched the ball yet. The turning point to me was when the Calgary Stampeders started feeding their horse.
Burris, and knocked out of bounds rather harshly. And now a penalty flag. Brett Ralph. Preston George supplied the lick. Looked like Ralph might have been in bounds actually when he got hit. Let's see.
Ralph definitely was in bounds.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. BC number 43. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Maybe a little extra push at the end though.
A little extra oomph.
Yeah. Right here.
What got him the call.
Momentum as well. Preston George playing in his first game for the Lions tonight for LeVar Glover. Stampeders threatening to make this a rout. Over the middle, Teo Johnson. Aaron Miles prevented a touchdown.
The Lions, in terms of their defense on that play, did a great job with their speed. The speed is what prevented Calgary from getting into the end zone. Corey Banks pressuring Henry Burris to make that throw quickly. Aaron Miles quickly getting to Teo Johnson. There you see the Lions defensive coordinator Mike Benavides searching for an answer here tonight. Unfamiliar position for him.
2nd and goal. Joffrey Reynolds easily scores. And enjoying some Teo Johnson photography in the end zone.
Oh, there's just no resistance whatsoever from the BC Lions. At this point, you heard Wally Buono tell Perry Solkowski at halftime, we're missing tackles at the point of attack. That's what's killing us in the run game. 2 men had a shot at him. Neither one brought him down.
Point away from 38-7. 17 points off of turnovers here tonight. In a game that we thought going in might be a good old-fashioned shootout. Only one team doing the shooting tonight. Well, the track heats up in Edmonton this Sunday. TSN2 brings you exclusive coverage of the 2009 Rexall Edmonton Indy. Live coverage 5 Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time, only on TSN2. Paul Tracy, Alex Tagliani, Joffrey Reynolds, the latest to find the end zone here tonight. Calgary Stampeders lapping the BC Lions. Ian Smart.
Ian Smart can return.
And all good for the Calgary Stampeders offensively, defensively tonight. Tempers on the field right now. The only bad news, and we'll have to get a prognosis in the next couple of days, Kenyon Rambo. Let's see the cast on his right leg. Injury early in this ball game.
What they call an immobilizer brace to provide some stability, lateral stability for the ligaments in the knee and prevent him from bending. We saw him injured on that horse collar tackle by Javi Blatt.
Jarius Jackson as ineffective as Buck Pierce was. Jarius Jackson has yet to throw a complete pass.
For his first 4. Well, 1 completion.
To the wrong team.
To Dwight Anderson, yeah. I wonder if Buck Pierce might get another shot.
Maybe. Usually you look for that spark. There's Travis Lule. And way offside. And Jackson running for his life here. I don't think it's going to matter too much unless he was gone. It looked like G. Roy Simon. There's a late hit though, and that could change the yardage on these penalties. Trey Blackman, middle linebacker for Calgary.
And you see Trey Blackman knows. You see him telling his teammates, my bad. No question about that one. Leading head first as the quarterback was already on his way down.
Again, it was pretty obvious that BC had jumped offside.
Offside, number 87, BC. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary, number 30. 10 yards up from the original line of scrimmage, automatic first down.
Something going BC's way, but at the expense of taking a big hit. Whoa. Whoa. That's dangerous. What you do not want to see. Arsenal. First down for the BC Lions because of that penalty. The penalty brought them their first down in the second half.
They follow it up with their first completion of the second half as well.
Just over a minute left in the third quarter. Ball. O'Neal Wilson saw the ball bouncing all over the place, and the bad becomes worse for the BC Lions. Once again, we'll give the ball back to Calgary.
Well, the energy here just tells the story as far as the way these two teams are playing, and as far as the scoreboard. Saw the way Dwayne Carpenter exploded to that football. Everything for BC seems kind of laid back. Everything for Calgary, these guys are fired up.
And knocked out of bounds. 31 seconds to go.
Titus Ryan on the kick return.
It has not been a good night. The end of the first quarter on for the BC Lions. Unless they stage some miracle comeback in the fourth quarter, will fall to 1-3.
Well, we talked about it off the top. 4 weeks in. First of all, who would have imagined before the season that one of these two teams would be 1-3? Even coming off wins for both teams, it really seemed to buoy the confidence of each of them. You know, 1-3 sounds a whole lot uglier than 2-2.
That's all.
Next play, barring penalty, will be the final play of this third quarter. Another disastrous one for the home team. Joffrey Reynolds making his presence felt tonight for the Stampeders.
Yeah, I really feel Reynolds has been the catalyst here tonight. Of course, credit with Reynolds always goes to his offensive line as well.
Here he goes again.
That's all, guys.
Second down will be short of a first down. Teams will trade sides. We'll come back. 38-7. The Stampeders lead the way in Wendy's Friday Night Football. Third quarter numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always. The Calgary Stampeders with a 31-point lead.
I remember standing here at the end of the first quarter and talking about how these statistics and the play of the teams was so even. Cue the landslide. At that point, the Calgary Stampeders had completely taken over. It shows on the scoreboard, it shows in the statistics, and it absolutely shows on the field in terms of the way that these two teams are performing.
And none of the magic and that spark that Jarius Jackson was able to provide last week against the Edmonton Eskimos has materialized here tonight. The running game's not working. The passing game's not working. Their punting game is pretty good. And BC, that's the only thing that seems to be going right for them, and that's not a good sign.
Well, I mean, for as good as their punting game has been, special teams and some of the decisions they've made, including one with their punt team, have been issues in the way this game is, the direction this game is taken.
Exactly, and a punt that they maybe shouldn't have punted the football may have decided this ball game. Smart. No yards call. And another penalty flag had fallen as well, so these penalties might negate themselves. We'll find out in just a moment. Let's go down to Perry.
31 West Isaac with the tackle on the play.
Hi, Rod. Just had a chat with Kenyon Rambo. It says he will get an MRI on Monday, and the knee is loose. Really disappointed that there was no penalty on the play. Trying to stay positive. Here's what he said. I've never had any knee injuries on the right leg, and it is only week 4. So let's hope things work out well for him.
Yeah, you can see, and again, it looked like it had certainly bent the wrong way. Kenyon Rambo.
Calgary, number 7, a 15-yard penalty. Holding on the return, BC. 5 yards offset, first down.
So there you go. And Odell Willis helping the officiating crew out a little bit.
Well, as well as being an outstanding defensive end, he's also very helpful, apparently.
Jarius Jackson, the rush on again. Mallet. And a hit made by Brandon Browner, who lost his lid, but chops down Martell Mallet near the line of scrimmage.
I'll tell you, a lot of times a guy ends up playing corner because he's pretty fast, pretty athletic. He doesn't really like a lot of contact. Usually there's not a ton of that out there. But we have seen Brandon Browner here tonight with about 3 pretty big hits coming off the corner, picking up running backs coming out into the flat.
Again, a lot of silence in this stadium, but also from Paris Jackson and G. Roy Simon. Jarius Jackson looking for Simon, and we have a penalty flag and an interference call. Dwight Anderson.
A little bit of a grab to prevent G. Roy Simon from getting any separation as the ball was in the air here. Here you see G. Roy Simon working on the outside against Anderson. Ball goes up in the air.
Calgary, number 33. First down.
You know that Anderson's right hand got into the hip or into the rib area, grabbing the jersey of G. Roy Simon to prevent him from extending to get to that football.
First and 10 BC from the Calgary 25.
Now penalty. He's able to move them close to the red zone. Look out. Jarius Jackson was almost hit, able to unload that football.
Incomplete second down.
You saw the free safety, Wes Lysak, lined up on the line of scrimmage. He ends up being the free unblocked man here. It's going to come from the right side of that defensive alignment. Looked like Jarius Jackson caught a glimpse of him and had a sense that he was coming. Knew he had to get rid of that ball in a hurry.
Jackson in trouble, spinning, and again sacked by Odell Willis. Are we ready to give him the watch yet or what? I know there's lots of time, but
the way he's played tonight, he's getting a whole clock.
He's getting... Wow. Look at this.
Odell Willis all night long. Darren Hirspink is going to have nightmares about number 98. Even tried to grab him. Dean Valley tried to roll up on his legs at the end. Nothing.
4 quarterback sacks the last 2 games, 2 tonight for number 98. Sean White. Bobbled exchange. Kick is up and good for the hometown kid, and finally something to cheer about. 38-10 now the score. Sean White getting ready to kick off. The local boy makes good. His dad in the house. His mom and dad are here tonight. He had to buy about 15 to 20 tickets, and they were happy when he made that field goal. His first successful field goal in BC place. Again, filling in for the injured Paul McCallum, but BC Lions are going to need a lot more of those. Some touchdowns in this game. Titus Ryan, a game that got out of their grasp in his second quarter that seesawed Calgary's way.
Well, you need to answer. When the other team starts grabbing a little bit of momentum, you need to answer, you need to stem that. And the BC Lions just haven't done it. And it's allowed the Calgary Stampeders, their emotion, their enthusiasm, their intensity to continue to climb as this game has gone on.
Wally Buono, the guy who coached under him on the opposing sideline, has had his number. John Huffnagel, his team. Burris scrambling, knocked to the turf, threw it out of bounds, and there is a penalty flag for roughing the passer.
That's just a bad decision by Gary Butler. There was no need for him to lower his shoulder on Henry Burris after he threw the ball. Bit of a sign of frustration from the BC defense.
Major foul, roughing a passer. BC, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Out of California, PA, California, Pennsylvania. Gary Butler, first year in the CFL, and still getting used to, he says, a lot of the nuances of the Canadian Football League. Well, you can't hit the quarterback.
Yeah, that's a situation where Butler's telling the official, you know, he could have hit him harder, or he eased up on the hit. But you've got to really show that you ease up by, in that situation, maybe he couldn't slow down, but you grab the quarterback and hold him up and limit the impact instead of giving him a little nudge.
Look out now. Off to the races and finally brought down by Baron Miles, and Joffrey Reynolds having a breakout night tonight in the 09 season.
Well, Joffrey Reynolds is apparently sick and tired of seeing Henry Burris's name above his in the Calgary Stampeders rushing stats. Watch the way this opens up for Joffrey Reynolds. The offensive line, they're in that double tight end formation. Nice block out by Jermaine Jackson, lined up as a tight end on that play. Helps create that seam, and Joffrey Reynolds just takes off.
First 3 games tonight. Rush for more than all 3 games combined. Cornish. BC front line is also not had a lot of pressure. In the first quarter, it seemed Henry Burris was a little out of sync. He started 2 for 7. There seemed to be some pretty good pressure. We haven't heard from Brent Johnson tonight. And Aaron Hunt.
Well, this is one of the ongoing themes in the Canadian Football League for me. This is a quarterback-driven league, and everybody knows that. You can't dispute it. So there become 2 pretty important elements to this. Offensively, one of your missions is protecting the quarterback. Defensively, your main mission is disrupting the quarterback. When you have a good run game, it makes it easier to protect the quarterback.
Cornish has another first down, and good night for number 9. Inserted back in the lineup, just happy to be healthy again and able to contribute, and John Cornish has done that, especially coming home. Here's another guy who probably had to buy a few tickets tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Cornish plays in a backup role here in the shadow.
Unnecessary roughness. BC, number 72. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Jeremy Gibbs is flagged.
And you just see the frustration setting in and a loss of discipline as a result. 2 15-yard penalties on this possession.
They put it to the end zone here. It's lights out.
Barrick Neely.
Just going to say, at this point, you might want to just consider giving Henry Burris his baseball cap. Even though there are 10 minutes left, again, the lack of resistance, of any type of momentum at all from BC, has been numbing.
Uncharacteristic for this Lions team. But as tempers start to heat up, things get a little bit edgy out here. We saw Henry Burris take 1 hit out of frustration from the BC Lions. Good time to get him out and give Neely some meaningful playing time.
Carries behind Joffrey Reynolds. So takes it down. Had to get to the 3-yard line for a first down. Looks like the 5-yard line. And John Huffnagel. 3rd down here. Down in 2.
Yeah, you see Neely in here. You may wonder why Calgary would be pressing for the end zone here. They're thinking ahead to later in this season about the season series, home field advantage for the playoffs. This isn't about running up scores or anything like that.
And into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown, Joffrey Reynolds. Put this one in the icebox. The Calgary Stampeders are going to get their 2nd win of the season, and there's loads of time still left.
Well, there sure is. Joffrey Reynolds like a knife through butter going through this BC defense here tonight.
And I know Jermaine Copeland had an outstanding night, so did Jermaine Jackson, but you said it right. If not for Joffrey Reynolds, who certainly would be a candidate now for the Offensive Player of the Week honors as well. He's had a monster night here.
Well, he's given Burris the time to make some things happen in the passing game.
The route firmly on. 45-10. Wendy's Friday Night Football will continue. Joffrey Reynolds, 2 touchdowns. The numbers extraordinary here tonight for the Calgary Stampeders.
Come on, man. Go, how y'all doing?
Smiling Hank. And speaking of numbers, the Stampeders have had BC's number going back to last year.
Well, they sure have. They talked about it last season. Calgary rolled in here under John Hufnagel, and it was a changing of the times, a new era. As the feeling was that the Calgary Stampeders came in here and laid a physical beating on the BC Lions for the first time.
And the super sub did not work out tonight. Jarius Jackson unable to bring any spark from the bench, so Buck Pierce returns to the ball game. The Calgary Stampeders won all 3 regular season games last year and the West Division final. A win tonight which seems obvious for the Calgary Stampeders, and John Hufnagel will have rolled 7 straight wins, including preseason, against the guy who he worked under, Wally Buono. Mallet has a first down.
Well, sometimes when you're the mentor or the teacher, sometimes you teach a little bit too well.
Obviously.
Wally Buono right now may be regretting letting John Hufnagel in on some of his secrets when the two worked together in Calgary.
Now, Huff has Wally's number recently, but Wally Buono has been around enough, and I think the testament to Wally Buono is, again, he will be the CFL's winningest coach, is you look at the tree of coaches and quarterbacks that have all worked under him. Buck Pierce, and there's the hook slide. But guess what? A winner has helped create and recreate winners.
Well, absolutely. And you look throughout this Canadian Football League over the course of the last 20 years. Wally Buono became a head coach in 1990. And of course, his breeding ground under the great Marv Levy in Montreal. But you look at John Hufnagel, you look at George Cortez, one of the great offensive coordinators who's still in Calgary. You look at a guy like Tom Higgins, a former CFL Coach of the Year, was a former Wally Buono assistant. The list goes on and on. Mike Benavides being touted as the next great head coaching candidate in the Canadian Football League.
Harris Jackson, only his 3rd catch tonight, first in the second half. And you look at the quarterbacks that he's helped develop through the years. You know, Buck Pierce and Jarius Jackson now in BC, but there's a guy on the Calgary sideline who's an assistant coach now who was the starting quarterback here for BC for so many years. Mallet on 3rd down, and Calgary Stampeders will take over. Of course, we're referring to Dave Dickinson. There he is there. 6.5 to go. Stamps stomping the Lions. Here's our sack tally tonight, brought to you by Purolator, where business is going. The Toronto Argonauts lead the CFL. Winners again tonight over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. BC just 1 sack tonight, and the Calgary Stampeders add 4 to their tally.
I have a feeling the Stampeders aren't done yet.
Still a lot of time left here in what is now referred to affectionately, or maybe unaffectionately if you're on the losing side, as garbage time.
And that's it. Opportunity for some young guys, some backups, to get a little bit of playing time.
Odell Willis, pair of sacks tonight. And again, a stat that you don't read very often. Hurries, making a quarterback hurry. That's what Odell Willis and that whole front line did tonight.
Well, Willis has just been a handful for the BC tackles all night long. As you said, Rod, even when he hasn't made the sacks, he has been in that backfield.
Eric Neely.
One of the things that's interesting to watch here, with Barrick Neely in the game, very different offensive play calling package you see with Neely in there. A lot of inside runs that you don't see when Henry Burris is in the game. There you see offensive coordinator George Cortez, the man who calls those plays and coordinates those packages for his QBs.
Keeping it on the ground here. Well, tough night for BC Lion fans. And a night that was supposed to be a celebration. The Wall of Fame tonight, honoring 3 inductees: Gerald Roper, Ian Sinclair, and the late Bobby Ackles. Owner David Braley. Gerald Roper, former O-lineman, so too Ian Sinclair, longtime BC center, and Scott Ackles here to accept the award for his father, Bob Ackles, who
the face of the BC
really
Lions
did
for generations.
Boy, he is missed. Passed away a year ago. Boy, a lot of connections between this Calgary Stampeder team and the BC Lions, including the Ackles family.
Oh, there sure are. Obviously, similarities in the way that these two teams have been run, starting from the top with Bob Ackles and his son Scott Ackles. Then when you throw in the two head coaches and the fact that they come from similar philosophies, obviously. A lot of ties between these two coaching staffs because of still a number of coaches in Calgary who worked for Wally Buono during his time there. As well as Huffnagel and George Cortez. You've got special teams coach Craig Dickinson. And of course, Dave Dickinson, who works with the quarterbacks and receivers, played for Wally Buono for many years as well.
A perfect 10. 10 for 10. Sandro DeAngelis has to have some consideration for Special Teams Player of the Week. 4 field goals tonight for the diminutive kicker.
He is money.
He is money. Well, the Gladiator. Friday Night Gladiator, no doubt. The Big O.
Yeah, Odell Willis has been a monster all night long. There will be sleepless nights for a number of BC Lions. Their quarterbacks, their offensive line, their running backs. Odell Willis, a tremendous performance here tonight. I don't know if he was pointing to the CFL logo or if he was pointing to his wrist, giving us a little hit. But we got the message, Odell.
You are the Friday Night Gladiator, brought to you by Movado, and you will get the Movado Series 800.
You know, a star performance like that, he needs a catchy nickname.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking Odell, what you talking about, Willis?
I don't think that is.
No,
Yeah, no.
It doesn't
Like the
roll
Big
off
O,
the tongue, really. Eh?
the large O. Oh, no. I think that's what BC quarterbacks were saying all night. Again, I don't think anybody saw this coming here tonight. Two teams that had a sense of urgency about this game, and obviously the Calgary Stampeders had a larger sense of urgency.
No doubt about that. Calgary Stampeders are sending a huge message around the CFL with this victory tonight, not just to the BC Lions. There are some new faces, but they look a whole lot like the team that hoisted the Grey Cup in November.
Yeah, again, coming out of the starting gate, losing to Montreal in that rematch of the Grey Cup, and then in Winnipeg, and now they've put up 92 points in 2 games, their last 2 games. Last week against Toronto, which was a blowout, and tonight here in BC Place, another blowout. Pierce into traffic, and G-Roy Simon. G-Roy Simon, only 1 catch here tonight. 3-minute warning on the field. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football, brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939. Owner David Braley on the right. Head coach, general manager Wally Buono. The exception of their one win last week, it has been a very unlion-like start. This is a team that's been a powerhouse the last few years in the CFL West, and there is no roar here in the West Coast. Here's our game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer.
The game story is all about the Calgary Stampeders. Nick Lewis didn't make the trip. Kenyon Rambo went down with an injury. Jermaine Copeland stepped up in a big way. 2 touchdown catches. Joffrey Reynolds awesome in the running game. BC creating opportunities for the Stamps with errors. And defensively, Odell Willis outstanding tonight.
Stampeders preferring to keep this on the ground and not trying to run it up. 2.5 minutes to go. John Hufnagel, no doubt, had a distaste in his mouth about that start to the season, the 0-2, as Wally Buono did. Now, the Lions have been 1-3 before. Back in 2004 they were, and they've had some stumbling starts, but I can't recall a start like this, especially with a turnover in bodies, a turnover in personnel.
Well, the BC Lions
Timeout, BC.
expected to be taking a bit of a step back this year as some veterans moved on, salary cap related moves, and they knew there were going to be some growing pains with more young guys having to step in and play. They expected it in the early part of the season, but this is a much bigger step back tonight than they ever anticipated.
(1968) 41-7. Eric Neely still throwing.
I got it.
Jermaine Jackson. Looks like he might have got a little banged up. That's all the Stampeders need right now. Again, with no Nick Lewis and Kenyon Rambo on the sideline.
I spoke to the Stamps player personnel director, Jim Barker, prior to the game. He starts his annual tour of the NFL camps, as so many CFL scouts and general managers will do over the next few weeks. He may have to take a close look at some receivers during this year's journey if these injuries continue.
Well, there were probably a number of turning points tonight, but our TSN Turning Point brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's.
And it's an opportunity that the BC Lions handed to the Calgary Stampeders. Punting out of their own end zone when they could have taken a safety, gave the Stamps a short field after a big punt return, and led to the Jermaine Jackson touchdown that got things started for Calgary.
Our CFL Turning Point, TSN tonight. Just over a minute to go. Mercifully. It'll be a happy ride home for the Calgary Stampeders. We'll move to 2-2.
Henry Burris suggested yesterday that the issue for the Stamps, more than new faces, more than injuries, more than teams gunning for them in the first couple of weeks of the season, was simply complacency on the part of the defending champions.
Yeah. And that happens.
Oh, it certainly does, and a lot of times it takes teams a lot longer than 2 weeks to shake their way out of that funk. The Calgary Stampeders, weeks 3 and 4 of this 2009 season, look like they have found a cure for that Grey Cup hangover.
They'll let the clock run out here. Second down. Again, not wanting to run it up. been a very interesting start to this season. Third down and run it down again and give the ball back. But last year was the year of the catch, year of the spectacular plays. Parity, of course, in the West. Great start by Saskatchewan, Montreal. This year, the start of the season has been, of course, Montreal's start, but the year of the turnover. We saw more turnovers tonight. Maybe already seen some lopsided games and lopsided victories. An inordinate number, I think, for early in the season.
Oh, and one of the things that stood out to me is the importance of special teams play. We harp on it all the time as special teams being a third of the game in Canadian football. We've seen it with a lot of blocked kicks in the early part of this season, and we've seen it here tonight with how just some decisions made on special teams have affected field position. Calgary operated on a short field all night long, and that's made things much easier for them offensively than it has for the BC Lions, who seem to be starting in the shadow of their own goalpost a number of times here tonight.
Final few seconds coming up. Final play. What has been a disastrous night for the BC Lions. Buck Pierce, Jarius Jackson. It didn't matter. Mallett runs out of bounds and runs out of time.
Day late and $1 short.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampeders absolutely lay a licking on the BC Lions. 48-10. Stamps are 2-2. The Lions fall to 1-3. Good night, everybody, from BC Sports Center coming up next.